She had 8 million people watching her every move, but when she opened the door that night, mascara smudged, walls crumbling, the only person who truly saw her was the delivery guy who didn't even know her name. Welcome back, my wonderful story lovers. Today's story will be the most interesting you have watched in a long time. Kindly like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our new sizzling hot stories that we will be churning regularly. The ring light cast a halo around Vanessa Chen's face as she held her phone at the perfect angle. Her smile was bright, practiced, the kind that had been refined over 6 years of building an empire from filtered photographs and 10-second videos. Good morning, beautiful souls. She tilted her head, letting her hair cascade over one shoulder. Today we're talking about morning routines that actually change your life. She moved through her apartment with fluid choreography, the camera capturing each moment, the jade roller gliding across her cheekbones, the matcha latte she whisked by hand, the yoga pose held against floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. Everything was cream and gold and perfectly lit. Everything was curated. 20 minutes later, she posted the video and watched the numbers climb. 10,000 views in 3 minutes. Comments flooded in immediately. You're glowing, queen. Literally perfect. How do you do it? Vanessa scrolled through them, her face blank. She should feel something, gratitude, validation, joy. Instead, there was just the familiar hollowness, the sense of performing surgery on herself every day and wondering when someone would notice the scars. Her phone buzzed. Her manager, Trish. Videos killing it. Keep the momentum. Post a story in an hour. Relatable content. Maybe coffee spill or something. Vanessa typed back a thumbs up emoji, then set the phone down and stared at her reflection in the darkened screen. Without the ring light, without the angle, she looked tired. Human. 28 years old and exhausted from being watched. She walked to the window, pressing her forehead against the cool glass. Below, the city moved like blood through veins. Cars, people, all of them going somewhere with purpose. She was 43 floors up, suspended in luxury and loneliness. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. No roommates. No pets. No one to ask how she really was. Her phone lit up again. Another notification. Another person who loved the version of her that didn't exist. Across the city, Daniel Okafor was strapping on his delivery backpack when his phone chimed with a new order. He glanced at the screen. Thai food, upscale address, decent tip. He accepted it and swung his leg over his bicycle. The morning air was sharp, carrying the smell of roasting coffee and car exhaust. Daniel pedaled through it all with the easy rhythm of someone who had mapped every shortcut, every pothole, every traffic pattern. He'd been delivering food for 3 years now, and he'd become a ghost in the process, unseen, unnoticed, exactly how he preferred it. At the restaurant, he waited quietly while the staff packed the order. A group of teenagers laughed nearby, their phones out, recording something. Daniel looked away. He'd never understood the desire to be watched, to broadcast your life like it was a performance. He barely wanted to be seen at all. The cook handed him the bag with a nod. Daniel returned it, said thank you in his soft voice, and disappeared back into the city. He liked the simplicity of his job. Pick up food. Drop off food. Repeat. No small talk required. No expectations beyond punctuality and a polite smile. Most customers barely looked at him. He was just the hand that passed them dinner, a function rather than a person. And that was fine. Better than fine. Daniel had spent most of his life trying not to take up space. As a kid, he'd been the quiet one in the back of the classroom. In university, before he dropped out, he'd been the student who never raised his hand. Even now, at 26, he moved through the world like he was apologizing for existing. But he was kind. That much he knew. He always double-checked orders, always said thank you, always left food in a spot protected from rain or wind. If someone looked upset when they answered the door, he'd offer a small smile, a quiet you have a good night that carried more warmth than most people expected from a stranger. Kindness didn't require volume. It didn't require being seen. His phone buzzed with another order as he finished the first delivery. Sushi this time, same upscale neighborhood. Daniel accepted it and pedaled on, his legs burning pleasantly from the exertion. He passed a billboard, some influencer selling skincare, her face blown up 30 feet high, flawless and smiling. Daniel looked away. That world felt alien to him, all that performance and perfection. He couldn't imagine living like that, every moment documented, every flaw analyzed. He much preferred the shadows. By evening, Daniel had completed 18 deliveries. His legs ached and his stomach growled, but he took one more order before heading home. The address was familiar, he'd delivered there twice before. 43rd floor, high-rise downtown. The kind of place where lobbies had chandeliers and doormen wore suits. He collected the Italian food, packed it carefully in his insulated bag, and made his way across the city as the sun dipped below the buildings. In her apartment, Vanessa was staring at her phone with tears streaming down her face. The comments had started an hour ago, after she'd posted a sponsored video for a wellness brand. Someone had screenshotted a moment where her smile had faltered, where for just a fraction of a second, she'd looked sad. They'd posted it with the caption, "When the mask slips." It had gone viral. Now her comments were full of speculation, criticism, accusations. Some said she was ungrateful. Others called her fake. A few suggested she was on drugs, having a breakdown, losing her mind. She'd tried to ignore it. She'd filmed 3 different responses and deleted them all. She'd called Trish, who told her to let it blow over, to post something fun tomorrow and move on. But Vanessa couldn't move on. She couldn't stop reading the comments, couldn't stop seeing herself through their eyes, the woman who had everything and still couldn't manage to look happy. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was ungrateful. Maybe she was broken. Her doorbell rang. Vanessa wiped her face quickly, smearing mascara across her cheeks. She grabbed a tissue, tried to fix it, made it worse. The doorbell rang again. Forget it. It was just food. The delivery person wouldn't care. She opened the door. Daniel stood there with a bag of pasta, his expression neutral and polite. But when he saw her, really saw her, his face shifted. Not with recognition or judgment, but with something gentler. Concern. He didn't say anything at first. Just looked at her with dark, quiet eyes that seemed to register her tears, her smudged makeup, her trembling hands. "Are you okay?" His voice was soft, tentative. Vanessa blinked. No one ever asked her that. Not really. "I'm fine." Her voice cracked on the word. She reached for the bag, but he didn't hand it over yet. "You don't look fine." It was such a simple observation, delivered without pity or intrusion. Just a fact, spoken gently. And that gentleness broke something in her. "I'm not." The words came out before she could stop them. "I'm really not." Daniel hesitated, then stepped slightly closer, still holding her food. "Do you need me to call someone?" She shook her head, laughing bitterly. "There's no one to call." He didn't push. Didn't ask why. Just nodded slowly and handed her the bag. Their fingers brushed for a moment. "I hope it gets better." He said it quietly, like a prayer. "Whatever it is." Vanessa looked at him, really looked. He was younger than her, maybe mid-20s, with kind eyes and a delivery uniform that had seen better days. He didn't recognize her. Didn't know she was Vanessa Chin with 8 million followers. Didn't know anything except that she was a person who was hurting. And somehow, that made all the difference. "Thank you." She meant it more than she'd meant anything in months. He gave her a small shy smile, then turned to leave. "Wait." She didn't know why she said it. "What's your name?" He paused, looking back. "Daniel." "Thank you, Daniel." He nodded once more, then disappeared down the hallway. Vanessa closed the door and leaned against it, the bag of food warm in her hands. For the first time in hours, maybe days, the tightness in her chest eased just slightly. She didn't know his last name. Didn't know anything about him except that he'd asked if she was okay and had actually waited for an answer. It was the most seen she'd felt in years. The pasta sat untouched on Vanessa's counter for 20 minutes while she stared at the bag. Daniel. His name was Daniel. She tried to remember his face, the quiet concern in his eyes, the way he hadn't flinched at her tears, hadn't made her feel pathetic for falling apart in front of a stranger. She picked up her phone, then put it down. Picked it up again. The comments were still coming. Hundreds now. Thousands. People dissecting that single frame where her smile had dropped, building entire narratives about her life, her mental state, her worth. Vanessa opened her photos and scrolled back through weeks of content. Every image was perfect. Every caption was clever. Every smile was bright enough to burn. She looked like a stranger to herself. Her finger hovered over the camera icon. For 6 years, her first instinct during any emotion had been to document it, to turn it into content, to make it consumable. But something stopped her now. Daniel's voice echoed in her mind. "Are you okay?" He hadn't asked for a performance. He'd asked for the truth. Vanessa set the phone face down and opened the bag of food. The pasta was still warm. She ate it slowly, sitting on her kitchen floor in her expensive apartment, and let herself cry without an audience. The next morning, she woke up with swollen eyes and a strange clarity. She filmed her usual morning routine, posted it with a caption about self-care, and watched the engagement roll in. But her mind was elsewhere. She opened the food delivery app and stared at her order history. Thai food, sushi, Italian. All delivered. No way to see who had brought them. Vanessa felt ridiculous. She was contemplating ordering food she didn't need just for the chance that the same delivery guy might show up. She was a grown woman with millions of followers, and she was fixating on a stranger who'd been kind to her for 30 seconds. But those 30 seconds had felt more real than anything else in her life. She ordered lunch. Daniel's phone buzzed while he was adjusting his bike chain. New order, same upscale building. He accepted it without much thought and pedaled to the cafe, his mind on the errands he needed to run after his shift. His mother had a doctor's appointment tomorrow. He needed to make sure her medications were refilled, that the bills were paid, that everything was handled. It was always something, always some responsibility pressing down on his shoulders, always some reason he couldn't stop moving long enough to think about what he wanted. Not that he knew what he wanted. He'd stopped asking himself that question years ago. The cafe handed him a salad and a sandwich. Daniel packed them carefully and made his way downtown. The afternoon sun was warm on his face, and for a moment, he let himself enjoy it. These small pleasures were enough. They had to be. He locked his bike in the high-rise garage and took the elevator to the 43rd floor. The hallway was quiet, carpeted, smelling faintly of expensive candles. Daniel found the right door and knocked. When it opened, he recognized her immediately. The woman from last night, the one who'd been crying. She looked better now, her face was made up, her hair styled, but there was something in her eyes that reminded him of the vulnerability he'd seen before. "Hi." She smiled, but it was tentative. "You're back." "Looks like it." He held out the bag. "Hope you're doing better today." "I am." She took the food, her fingers brushing his again. "Thanks to you, actually." Daniel blinked, uncertain how to respond. "I didn't do anything. You asked if I was okay." Vanessa's voice was soft. No one ever really asks that. He shifted his weight, uncomfortable with the gratitude. It felt too big for what he'd done. "I'm glad you're all right." There was a pause. Vanessa didn't close the door. Daniel didn't leave. "Can I ask you something?" She looked almost nervous. "Do you deliver here a lot?" "Sometimes. I go wherever the app sends me." "Right. Of course." She laughed, a little self-conscious. I wanted to thank you properly." For last night. You don't have to. Please. Her voice was earnest now. Can I tip you? Not through the app, I mean. Actually tip you. Daniel hesitated. You already tipped through the app. I know, but... Really, it's okay. He gave her a small smile. I'm just glad you're feeling better. Vanessa looked at him for a long moment, and Daniel had the strange sensation of being truly seen. Not judged, not dismissed, seen. It made him want to retreat, to bow out of the conversation and disappear back into his comfortable invisibility. But something kept him there. What's your favorite food? Vanessa asked suddenly. What? Your favorite food. You deliver it all the time. You must have opinions. Daniel laughed, surprised by the question. I don't know. I guess I don't think about it much. How can you not think about it? You're surrounded by food all day. That's exactly why I don't think about it. He rubbed the back of his neck. It's just work. But you must get hungry. What do you eat? Whatever's cheap and fast. Daniel shrugged. Rice, usually. Chicken if I can afford it. Vanessa's expression shifted into something he couldn't read. That's what you eat? After delivering gourmet meals all day? It's fine. It's enough. Another pause. Then Vanessa did something unexpected. She stepped back and opened the door wider. Come in. Daniel stiffened. I can't. I have other deliveries. After. Come back after your shift. I don't think. Please. There was something almost desperate in her voice. I have so much food. Too much food. And I eat alone every single night. Just come back. We can share the salad you just brought me. Or I'll order something else. Anything you want. Daniel knew he should say no. Every instinct told him to decline politely, to maintain the boundary between delivery guy and customer, to stay invisible. But the loneliness in her voice was so familiar it hurt. Okay. The word came out before he decided to say it. What time? 7? 7. He nodded, already regretting it, already knowing he'd show up anyway. Vanessa's face lit up with a smile that looked genuine, unfiltered. Thank you. Daniel left quickly, before either of them could change their minds. He finished his deliveries in a daze, his thoughts circling back to that apartment, that woman, that invitation. What was he doing? She was clearly wealthy, clearly out of his league in every measurable way. This wasn't a date. It was probably pity. She felt bad for the delivery guy who ate rice every night. But she'd looked lonely. And Daniel knew loneliness better than he knew most things. At 6:30, he went home and showered. He didn't have much in the way of nice clothes, just a clean pair of jeans and a button-up shirt he wore to church on the rare occasions his mother was well enough to go. He put them on, looked at himself in the mirror, and felt foolish. She probably ordered food again and forgot she invited you. You're going to show up and embarrass yourself. But at 7, he was standing outside her door anyway, his heart beating too fast. He knocked. Vanessa answered immediately, and Daniel's breath caught. She was wearing jeans and an oversized sweater, her hair pulled back, her face bare of the makeup she'd worn earlier. She looked younger. Softer. Real. You came. She sounded relieved. I said I would. I know, but... She stepped aside. Come in. Daniel entered, taking in the apartment properly for the first time. It was beautiful in an impersonal way, like a magazine spread, all neutral tones and expensive furniture. But there was no clutter, no personality, nothing that suggested someone actually lived here. Vanessa led him to the kitchen, where she'd laid out the salad and sandwich along with several other containers of food. Sorry, I may have overordered. I wasn't sure what you'd like. This is more than enough. Daniel stared at the spread. This is too much. It's really not. She handed him a plate. Please. Eat whatever you want. They filled their plates in awkward silence, then sat at her dining table, a glass surface that reflected their nervous faces back at them. Vanessa picked at her salad. So, delivery guy. So, customer who orders a lot of food. She laughed. Is it that obvious? I've delivered here 3 times this week. 4 if you count today twice. Vanessa's cheeks flushed. I might have a problem. There are worse problems to have. They ate quietly for a moment. Then Vanessa set down her fork and looked at him directly. I need to tell you something. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. I'm not just some random person who orders too much food. Okay. Daniel waited. She hesitated. Have you ever heard of Vanessa-chan? He shook his head slowly. Should I have? Vanessa laughed, and it sounded like relief. No. God, no. It's just, I have a lot of people who follow me online. Like, millions of people. I make videos and post photos, and basically my whole life is public. Daniel processed this. You're famous? In certain circles, I guess. She looked embarrassed. It's stupid, really. I just got lucky with the algorithm, and now I can't stop or everything falls apart. That doesn't sound stupid. It sounds exhausting. It is. Vanessa's eyes met his. That's why last night, when you asked if I was okay, no one asks me that. They ask for photos or advice or they criticize me, but no one just asks. I'm sorry. Daniel didn't know what else to say. Don't be. You're the first person in years who's treated me like a human being instead of a brand. They looked at each other across the table, and something shifted in the air between them. Not quite attraction, not yet, but recognition. 2 lonely people, seeing each other. Can I ask you something? Vanessa leaned forward. Why do you do this? Deliver food, I mean. Daniel set down his fork. I need the money. My mom is sick. Has been for a while. I dropped out of university to take care of her, and the bills just kept coming. This job is flexible, and it pays enough to keep us afloat. I'm sorry. Don't be. He echoed her words back to her. She's my mom. I'd do anything for her. Vanessa studied him with an expression he couldn't quite name. You're a good person, Daniel. He looked away, uncomfortable. I'm just doing what anyone would do. No. Her voice was firm. You're not. Most people wouldn't. Most people would choose themselves. The weight of her words settled between them. Daniel wanted to deflect, to minimize, but something about the way she was looking at him made him stay quiet. Thank you for coming tonight. Vanessa's voice dropped to almost a whisper. I know this is weird. I know I'm probably making you uncomfortable. But I really needed to not be alone. You're not making me uncomfortable. It was only half a lie. She smiled. You're a terrible liar. Daniel laughed despite himself. Okay, maybe a little uncomfortable. But not in a bad way. What way then? In a way that feels like something's about to change. He hadn't meant to say it out loud. Vanessa's smile faded into something more serious. Yeah. I feel that too. They sat there, 2 strangers who somehow weren't strangers anymore, sharing food in a too-perfect apartment while the city hummed 43 floors below. And neither of them knew that this moment, this quiet, unremarkable dinner, would be the thing they'd both remember when everything fell apart. Daniel left Vanessa's apartment at 9:30, his mind spinning. He rode his bike through the city streets, barely noticing the traffic, replaying the evening in fragments. The way she'd laughed at his dry observations. The vulnerability in her voice when she'd talked about her work. The moment their knees had accidentally touched under the table and neither had moved away. Stop it. He gripped the handlebars tighter. She invited you to dinner because she felt sorry for you. That's all this was. But even as he thought it, he knew it wasn't true. There had been something there, something fragile and real and terrifying. When he got home, his mother was asleep in her room, her breathing steady. Daniel checked on her, adjusted her blankets, then collapsed on his own bed fully clothed. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Hi. It's Vanessa. I got your number from the delivery app. Hope that's not creepy. Thank you for tonight. I really needed that." Daniel stared at the message for a full minute before typing back, "Not creepy. I'm glad I came." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Vanessa, would you want to do it again sometime?" His thumb hovered over the keyboard. Every rational part of his brain screamed no. This woman lived in a different world. She was famous, wealthy, everything he wasn't. There was no scenario where this ended well. But he typed, yes. And then, because he couldn't help himself, "When? Vanessa, tomorrow?" Daniel closed his eyes. He had a shift tomorrow. Bills to pay. Responsibilities that couldn't be ignored for a woman he barely knew. He typed, "I work until 8. Vanessa, come by after?" Daniel, okay. He set the phone down and stared at the ceiling, his heart doing something complicated in his chest. Across the city, Vanessa was pacing her apartment, phone clutched in her hand. What was she doing? She'd given her number to a delivery guy. She'd invited him back. She was acting like a teenager with a crush instead of a grown woman with a career to protect. Her phone rang. Trish. Vanessa answered. "Hey. Have you seen the engagement numbers from yesterday's video?" Trish sounded thrilled. Whatever happened, it worked. People are eating up the vulnerability angle. Great. Vanessa's voice was flat. "I'm serious, Van. This is good. Keep leaning into the human side. Maybe do a video about mental health or... I'm not making content out of that. Why not? It's relatable. It's real. Because it was real." Vanessa snapped. "Not everything needs to be content, Trish." There was a pause. "Okay. Are you all right?" "I'm fine. Just tired." "Well, rest up. We have that brand meeting on Friday and I need you sharp." After they hung up, Vanessa looked around her apartment, the space that was supposed to be her sanctuary but felt more like a showroom. Everything in it had been chosen for how it would look on camera. Even her life had become a set. She thought about Daniel's small comment, "I'm just doing what anyone would do." He had no idea how rare that made him. The next day dragged. Vanessa filmed 2 videos, responded to hundreds of comments, attended a virtual meeting with a skincare brand. She smiled and performed and said all the right things. But her mind was on 7:30. Daniel delivered food all day, his legs burning from the constant motion. Between orders, he checked his phone compulsively, though he wasn't sure what he was checking for. At 6, his mother asked him where he was going after work. "Just meeting a friend." She raised an eyebrow. "You don't have friends." Daniel laughed. "Thanks, Mom. I mean it as a compliment. You're too busy taking care of me to have a social life." Her expression turned serious. "If you're going out, I'm glad. It's nothing. Just dinner." "With who?" "Someone I met through work." His mother studied him with a knowing look that only mothers had. "Is this someone special?" "No. Maybe. I don't know." Daniel ran a hand through his hair. "It's complicated. Everything worth doing is complicated." After his shift, Daniel went home to change again. This time, his mother wolf whistled when she saw him. Definitely someone special. Daniel kissed her forehead. "I'll be back by 11. Take your time." She smiled. "And Daniel? Don't talk yourself out of whatever this is before it even starts." Her words followed him all the way to Vanessa's building. This time, when she opened the door, she looked nervous. "I ordered Chinese. I hope that's okay. I realized I never actually asked what you like." "Chinese is perfect." They ate on her couch instead of the dining table, and it felt less formal, more natural. Vanessa had changed into leggings and an old t-shirt, her hair in a messy bun. So. She picked at her low mane. I've been thinking about something you said yesterday. What's that? About how I'm not just some random person. She looked at him. To you, am I? What do you mean? I mean, when you look at me, do you see Vanessa Chin the influencer, or do you just see me? Daniel set down his chopsticks. Honestly, I still don't really know who Vanessa Chin is. To me, you're just Vanessa. The person who orders too much food and was crying when I delivered it. She laughed, but her eyes were wet. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me in a long time. That's depressing. I know. She wiped her eyes. God, I'm a mess. You're not. Daniel surprised himself by reaching over and touching her hand briefly. You're just honest. That's not the same thing. Vanessa looked down at where his hand had been. Can I tell you something? Of course. I haven't felt like a real person in years. I wake up and I perform and I go to sleep and I do it again. And I'm good at it, I'm really good at it, but I hate it. She took a shaky breath. And then you showed up and asked if I was okay, and it was like, I don't know. Like someone turned the sound back on in my life. Daniel didn't know what to say to that. The magnitude of it felt too big, too important. I'm sorry. Vanessa laughed self-consciously. That was a lot. Don't apologize. He meant it. I get it. Feeling invisible, I mean. How could you feel invisible? You see people all day. Yeah, but they don't see me. I'm just the delivery guy. Background noise. Daniel shrugged. I've been invisible my whole life. It's easier that way. Is it? I thought so. He met her eyes. But now I'm not so sure. The air between them shifted again, charged with something neither was ready to name. Vanessa's phone buzzed on the coffee table. Once, twice, 10 times in quick succession. She glanced at it and her face paled. What's wrong? Nothing. Just. She picked up the phone, scrolled, and her hand started shaking. Daniel moved closer. Vanessa. Someone posted about us. About you being here. How would anyone know? I don't know. She was scrolling frantically now. Maybe someone saw you coming in. Maybe a neighbor recognized me and got curious. It doesn't matter. They're already making assumptions. She turned the phone toward him. There was a photo, grainy, taken from a distance, of Daniel entering her building. The caption read, Vanessa Chin's mystery man? Looks like a delivery guy. Girl, what are you doing? The comments were a mix of speculation and judgment. She's finally showing her real self, LOL. Clout chaser alert. This is gonna be a PR disaster. He's actually kinda cute though. Imagine being that rich and dating a delivery guy. Embarrassing. Daniel felt something cold settle in his stomach. I should go. No. Vanessa grabbed his arm. Don't. This will blow over. It always does. But it won't. He pulled away gently. Look at what they're saying. This is bad for you. I don't care what they say. You should. Daniel stood. This is your career. Your life. I'm just. Don't say you're just anything. Her voice was fierce. You're not just anything to me. The words hung in the air between them, too big and too soon. Daniel wanted to believe her. Wanted to think that whatever this was could survive the scrutiny of millions of strangers. But he'd spent his whole life being background noise, and now he was being dragged into the spotlight against his will. I need to think. He moved toward the door. Daniel, please. He paused, hand on the doorknob. I'll call you. When? Soon. He left before she could respond, before he could change his mind, before he could make a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. Vanessa stood alone in her apartment, phone still buzzing with notifications, and felt the familiar walls closing in. She'd been stupid to think this could be different. Stupid to think she could have something real. But as she looked at the half-eaten Chinese food on her coffee table, at the 2 sets of chopsticks and 2 glasses of water, she realized something. For the first time in years, she'd rather have the real thing and lose it than keep performing a life that meant nothing. Even if it terrified her. Daniel didn't call. 3 days passed. Vanessa checked her phone obsessively, jumping at every notification, but none of them were from him. The photo had indeed blown over, replaced by newer drama, fresher gossip, but the silence from Daniel felt louder than anything the internet could throw at her. She ordered food twice, hoping. Different delivery people showed up both times. On the 4th day, she typed out a message, "I miss talking to you." She deleted it. Typed again, "Are you okay?" Deleted that too. Finally, she just sent, "Hi." The message sat unread for 6 hours. When Daniel finally responded, it was brief, "Hi. Sorry, been busy with mom stuff." Vanessa stared at the message, trying to decode it. Was he really busy, or was he pulling away? Was mom stuff real, or an excuse? She wanted to ask. She wanted to demand honesty, to push past his walls. But she also knew what it felt like to need space, to need time to process something overwhelming. So she just typed, "I understand. Hope she's okay. Daniel, she is. Thanks." And then nothing. Vanessa threw herself into work. She filmed 6 videos in 2 days, responded to every comment, accepted 3 new brand deals. Trish was thrilled. Her followers were engaged. Everything looked perfect from the outside. Inside, she felt hollow. On day 5, the weather turned. Dark clouds rolled in during the afternoon, and by evening, the sky had opened up. Rain pounded against Vanessa's windows in sheets, turning the city below into a blur of gray and gold. She was editing a video when her doorbell rang. Vanessa's heart leaped. She checked her phone, no food orders placed. She hadn't ordered anything. She opened the door. Daniel stood there, soaked through. His hair dripped water down his face, his jacket was plastered to his body, and his eyes looked tired. "My bike broke." His voice was quiet. "Halfway here. I've been walking for 20 minutes. Why were you coming here?" "I don't know." He laughed, but it sounded defeated. I needed to see you." Vanessa pulled him inside without another word. She grabbed towels from the bathroom, brought him dry clothes, an oversized hoodie and sweatpants that would be too big for him but better than what he had. "Bathroom's there." She pointed. "Change. I'll make tea." When Daniel emerged 10 minutes later, his hair towel dried and wearing her clothes, he looked younger. Vulnerable in a way that made Vanessa's chest ache. She handed him a mug of tea. "Sit." They sat on her couch, the rain a constant percussion against the windows. For a long moment, neither spoke. "I'm sorry." Daniel finally broke the silence. "For disappearing like that. You don't have to apologize." "I do." He set down his mug. "You told me how much you hate it when people aren't real with you, and then I did the exact same thing. You were processing. I get it. I was scared." Daniel met her eyes. "I saw those comments and I panicked. I thought. I don't know what I thought. That I was dragging you down. That I didn't belong in your world. That this was a mistake." "Was it?" Vanessa's voice was barely above a whisper. "A mistake?" "No." The word came out fierce, certain. "Being with you is the least mistake thing I've done in years." "Then why did you leave?" "Because I'm good at leaving." Daniel's jaw tightened. "I'm good at making myself small, at not taking up space, at convincing myself I don't deserve good things. And you're a good thing. The best thing. And it scared the hell out of me." Vanessa felt tears prick her eyes. "I'm scared too." "Of what?" "Of this being real and losing it. Of caring about someone and having them decide I'm not worth the complications. Of being seen and still being left." She wiped her eyes roughly. I've been left before, Daniel. By people who were supposed to stay. And I don't know if I can survive it again. Daniel moved closer, setting his mug on the coffee table. Can I tell you something? Please. When my dad left, I was 12. My mom got sick not long after. We think it was the stress, but who knows? And I remember thinking that if I could just be good enough, useful enough, quiet enough, maybe people would stay. She took a shaky breath. But being small doesn't make people stay. It just makes you disappear. Vanessa reached for his hand. You're not disappearing anymore. Neither are you. They sat like that, hands intertwined, while the storm raged outside. The windows rattled. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. Vanessa laughed into the darkness. Of course. Do you have candles? Somewhere. She fumbled for her phone, turned on the flashlight, and together they searched her kitchen drawers. They found 3 candles and a lighter, arranged them on the coffee table, and sat back down. In the candlelight, everything felt softer, more intimate. The city beyond the windows had gone dark too, a power outage across the whole block. This is very romantic. Vanessa said it lightly, but her heart was pounding. Very movie moment. Daniel agreed. Next you'll tell me you have wine. I do, actually. Of course you do. She retrieved a bottle and 2 glasses, poured them both generous amounts. They drank in comfortable silence, watching the candles flicker. Can I ask you something? Daniel's voice was tentative. Why me? What do you mean? I mean you could have anyone. You're smart and successful and beautiful. You have millions of people who would do anything for your attention. So why do you want mine? Vanessa considered the question carefully. Because everyone else wants Vanessa-chan. They want the performance, the image, the brand. You're the only person who's ever just wanted Vanessa. I do. Daniel's voice was rough. Want you, I mean. The real you. I want the real you too. She shifted closer. Tell me something real. Something you've never told anyone. Daniel took a long drink of wine. I dropped out of university and everyone said I was throwing my life away. My professors, my friends, even my mom tried to convince me not to. But the truth is... He paused. I was relieved. I hated it. Hated the pressure. Hated feeling like I had to become someone I wasn't. And when Mom got sick, it gave me an excuse to stop pretending. Do you regret it? Sometimes. Not taking care of her, I do that 1,000 times over. But I regret not knowing what I actually want. I've spent so long just surviving that I forgot to think about living. Vanessa felt the weight of those words. I know exactly what you mean. Your turn. Tell me something real. She took a breath. I started posting online because I was lonely. I just moved to the city, didn't know anyone, and I thought maybe if I put myself out there, I'd connect with people. And I did, kind of. But it wasn't real connection. It was performance. And by the time I realized that, I'd built this whole empire on performing, and I didn't know how to stop without losing everything. What do you want? Daniel asked. If you could do anything, be anyone, what would you choose? I'd choose quiet. Vanessa surprised herself with the answer. I'd choose mornings without having to film them. I'd choose conversations that don't get screenshotted. I'd choose being loved by one person who really knows me over being liked by millions who don't. You have that. He squeezed her hand. With me, I mean. If you want it. I want it. She was crying now, but she didn't bother wiping the tears away. I really want it. Daniel reached up and brushed a tear from her cheek with his thumb. Then you have it. The rain had softened to a steady patter. The candles had burned down halfway. And somewhere in the darkness, 2 lonely people had found something that felt like home. Vanessa leaned her head on Daniel's shoulder. How's your mom? Really? She's stable. Some days are better than others. He stroked her hair absently. She asked about you, actually. She did? I told her I'd met someone. She got this look on her face, like she'd been waiting years to hear me say that. Made me realize how much of my life I've put on hold. What did you tell her about me? That you're kind. That you see me. That you make me want to be braver. Vanessa tilted her head up to look at him. You make me want to be braver too. Their faces were inches apart. Daniel's hand was still in her hair. Vanessa's heart was beating so hard she was sure he could feel it. Can I kiss you? His voice was barely audible. Please. He kissed her softly, tentatively, like he was afraid she might disappear. Vanessa kissed him back, her hands coming up to cup his face, and felt something inside her chest crack open, something that had been locked for so long she'd forgotten it was there. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Wow. Vanessa laughed, slightly breathless. Yeah. Daniel rested his forehead against hers. Wow. They stayed like that, wrapped around each other on the couch, while the storm passed and the city slowly came back to life. The power flickered on sometime around midnight, but neither moved to blow out the candles. Stay. Vanessa whispered it against his neck. Please stay tonight. I don't want to complicate things. Things are already complicated. She pulled back to look at him. But I don't care. Do you? Daniel smiled, a real smile, wide and genuine. No. I don't care at all. She led him to her bedroom, gave him more comfortable clothes, and they lay down fully dressed on opposite sides of her king-sized bed. It felt both innocent and monumental, this sharing of space, this declaration of trust. Daniel. Vanessa said into the darkness. Yeah? I'm really glad your bike broke. He laughed. Me too. They talked until 3 in the morning, about childhoods and dreams and fears and stupid things that made them laugh until their stomachs hurt. And when they finally fell asleep, it was with their hands linked across the space between them. Outside, the storm had cleared. The city sparkled with rain-slicked streets and reflected lights. And in a high-rise apartment, 2 people who had been lonely for so long had finally found each other. It wouldn't last. It couldn't. The world was waiting to tear them apart. But for now, for tonight, they were enough. Vanessa woke to sunlight streaming through her windows and the unfamiliar sensation of not being alone. Daniel was still asleep beside her, his face peaceful in the morning light. She watched him for a moment, memorizing the details. The way his eyelashes cast shadows on his cheeks, the slight part of his lips, the rise and fall of his chest. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. 23 notifications. She ignored them all. Daniel stirred, his eyes opening slowly. For a second, he looked confused, then his gaze found her and he smiled. Morning. Morning. Vanessa smiled back. Sleep okay? Best I've slept in months. They made breakfast together, scrambled eggs and toast, simple and unhurried. Vanessa kept stealing glances at him, at this man in her kitchen wearing her clothes, and felt something dangerously close to happiness. I should check on my mom. Daniel said it reluctantly, checking his phone. I usually call her by now. Use my room if you want privacy. He squeezed her hand in thanks and disappeared down the hallway. Vanessa cleaned up the breakfast dishes, trying not to eavesdrop but unable to help catching fragments. No, Ma, I'm fine. I was with a friend. Yes, that friend. She's wonderful, actually. When he returned, his expression was complicated. Everything okay? She wants to meet you. Vanessa's eyebrows shot up. Really? I know it's fast. We can. I'd love to meet her. Daniel looked relieved and terrified in equal measure. She's in the hospital today. Just for observation, nothing serious. But if you're free this afternoon. I'm free. 3 hours later, Vanessa found herself in a hospital room, nervous in a way she hadn't been nervous in years. She'd changed into simple jeans and a sweater, left her hair down, wore minimal makeup. She wanted Daniel's mother to see her, not Vanessa-chan. The woman in the bed was small and frail, her skin dark and papery, her eyes bright with intelligence and warmth. She smiled when they entered. "So you're the one who's got my son smiling like a fool." "Mom." Daniel's ears turned red. "I'm Vanessa." She approached the bed, offering her hand. "It's so nice to meet you. Call me Grace." The woman's grip was surprisingly strong. "Daniel tells me you feed him actual food. I'm grateful. He'd live on rice and air if left to his own devices. I do my best." Grace studied her for a long moment, and Vanessa had the unsettling sensation of being seen through, past the makeup, past the performance, straight to the core of who she was. "You're good for him." Grace said it like a fact. "I can tell." "I hope so. He doesn't let people in easily. Never has." Grace glanced at her son with affection. Even as a boy, he kept everything inside. Thought he had to be strong for everyone else. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "Mom. I'm allowed to embarrass you. I'm in a hospital bed." Grace winked at Vanessa. "Sit, both of you. Tell me how you met." They sat, and Daniel recounted the story, the delivery, Vanessa's tears, the gradual progression from strangers to whatever this was becoming. Grace listened intently, occasionally interjecting with questions or observations. When Daniel excused himself to get coffee, Grace's demeanor shifted. "He's told you about his father?" Vanessa shook her head. "Not much." "Good." Grace's voice hardened slightly. "That man doesn't deserve much mention. But you should know what Daniel lived through, because it shaped him." She leaned forward slightly, her eyes distant. Daniel's father left when Daniel was 12. No warning, no goodbye. Just gone one day. Left a note saying he couldn't handle the responsibility anymore, that he'd made a mistake having a family. Grace's jaw tightened. Daniel found the note. "Read it before I did." "Oh God." Vanessa's heart clenched. He never said a word about it. Just folded the note up, handed it to me, and went to his room. And from that day on, he made himself small. Quiet. Helpful. Like if he could just be good enough, no one else would leave. Grace looked directly at Vanessa. "He spent 14 years trying to prove he's worth staying for." Vanessa felt tears prick her eyes. "He is worth staying for. I know that. You know that. But does he?" Grace reached over and took Vanessa's hand. "Whatever you two have, however it started, it's real. I can see it in how he looks at you. But he's going to sabotage it. He's going to find reasons why it can't work. And when he does, you need to decide if you're going to stay anyway." "I will." The words came out fierce, certain. "I'm not going anywhere." "Good." Grace squeezed her hand. "Because neither is he. He just doesn't know it yet." When Daniel returned with coffee, he found them talking like old friends. The conversation shifted to lighter topics: Grace's garden before she got sick, Vanessa's terrible cooking skills, Daniel's childhood obsession with astronomy. He wanted to be an astronaut. Grace teased. Had posters all over his walls, spent hours looking at stars. "What happened?" Vanessa asked. Daniel shrugged. "Life happened. Mom got sick. Bills needed paying. Dreams took a back seat. Dreams don't have expiration dates." Grace's voice was gentle but firm. "They just wait for you to remember them." After they left the hospital, Daniel was quiet. They walked through the city without destination, just moving. "Your mom is incredible," Vanessa finally said. "She is." Daniel's voice was thick. "She's also dying." Vanessa stopped walking. "What?" "Not immediately. Maybe 6 months. Maybe a year. But her kidneys are failing, and she's not a candidate for transplant. We're just managing symptoms now." "Daniel." Vanessa grabbed his hands. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because then it becomes real." He looked away. "Because if I say it out loud, If I admit that I'm losing her, then I have to face the fact that I'm about to be completely alone. You're not alone. You have me. For how long? The question came out sharp. How long until you realize that being with me means hospital visits and medical bills and a guy who can barely afford rent? How long until the reality of my life becomes too much? Is that what you think? That I'm going to leave? Everyone leaves eventually. There it was, the core wound that Grace had warned her about. Vanessa stepped closer, forcing him to look at her. Listen to me. I know what it's like to be left. My parents divorced when I was 7. My dad moved across the country and barely stayed in touch. My mom remarried and I became an afterthought. Every relationship I've had since has ended because they couldn't handle the demands of my career, or they wanted the influencer but not the person. She took his face in her hands. I know what it's like to feel disposable. And I will never, ever make you feel that way. Daniel's eyes were wet. You don't know what you're signing up for. Yes, I do. And I'm signing up anyway. He kissed her then, desperate and grateful, right there on the sidewalk with people streaming past them. When they pulled apart, both were crying. I'm sorry. Daniel wiped his eyes. I'm a mess. We're both messes. Vanessa laughed through her tears. Maybe that's why this works. They walked back to her apartment hand in hand, and this time when they lay down in her bed, it felt less like a sleepover and more like a declaration. They held each other while the sun set outside, talking about Grace, about fears, about the future that felt both terrifying and possible. I want to help, Vanessa said into the darkness. With your mom's medical bills. With whatever you need. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Why? Because I care about you. Because you do the same for me. Because money is just money, and people are what matter. She propped herself up on one elbow to look at him. Let me help. Please. Okay. His voice was small. Okay. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, two broken people trying to figure out how to be whole together. Neither of them saw the notification that had appeared on Vanessa's silenced phone. Another photo, another post. This time it was Daniel leaving her building in the morning, wearing her clothes. The caption read, "So it's serious. Vanessachan's downgrade era confirmed." The comments were already pouring in. And by morning, everything would change. For 3 weeks, they existed in a bubble. Daniel integrated into Vanessa's life in small, significant ways. He started keeping a toothbrush in her bathroom. She learned his coffee order by heart. They developed routines, breakfast together when his schedule allowed, late-night phone calls when it didn't, weekends spent exploring parts of the city neither had taken time to see. Vanessa still posted content, still maintained her online presence, but something had shifted. Her videos felt more authentic, less choreographed. She smiled more genuinely. Her followers noticed. The comments were mixed. Some loved the change, said she seemed happier. Others accused her of losing her edge, of getting soft. A dedicated faction continued to dissect her relationship with Daniel, but the fervor had died down to a low simmer. Vanessa learned to ignore it. Or at least, she tried. On a Saturday morning, Daniel brought her to meet his mother again. This time, Grace was home, a small apartment in a neighborhood that had seen better days. The building was worn but clean, the apartment cramped but filled with warmth. "Welcome to our palace," Daniel joked as he unlocked the door. Grace was in the kitchen, moving slowly but determinedly, making what smelled like curry. She lit up when she saw them. Perfect timing. I made too much food, as always. They ate together at a small table, plates balanced on their laps because there wasn't quite enough room. Vanessa had never felt more comfortable. Grace told stories about Daniel's childhood, how he'd tried to build a telescope out of toilet paper rolls, how he'd once brought home a stray cat and hidden it in his closet for 2 weeks. She sneezed on my bed and that's how Mom found out. Daniel shook his head at the memory. I let you keep the cat. Grace pointed her fork at him. For 3 years. Because you're a softie. Because you loved that cat more than anything. They cleaned up together, and Vanessa found herself washing dishes in Grace's tiny kitchen while Daniel dried. It was domestic and simple and perfect. Later, Grace pulled out photo albums, actual physical albums, the pages crackling with age. Vanessa sat beside her on the worn couch while Daniel made tea, and they flipped through years of memories. There. Grace pointed to a photo of a young Daniel, maybe 9 or 10, grinning at the camera with a missing front tooth. That's my boy. Before everything got complicated. He's still that boy. Vanessa said softly. Under everything else, he's still that happy. You see it too. Grace smiled. Good. Don't let him forget. The photos continued, Daniel at various ages, always with a slight reserve in his eyes even when smiling. Then Grace paused at a particular page. Her finger traced the outline of a photo that wasn't there, just the sticky residue where one had been removed. That's where his father was. Grace's voice went flat. I took them all out after he left. Didn't want Daniel to have to see his face every time he looked at our memories. I'm sorry. Don't be. Grace closed the album. Some people aren't meant to stay. And that's on them, not on us. When Daniel returned with tea, he found them talking quietly. He settled on Vanessa's other side, and they spent the afternoon like that, 3 people who had all been lonely in different ways, building something that felt like family. As the sun began to set, Grace's energy flagged. Daniel helped her to her room, making sure she had her medications, a glass of water, her phone within reach. Vanessa waited in the living room, studying the space. Every surface held evidence of love, photos, small treasures, plants struggling to grow in the limited light. It was the opposite of her sterile apartment, and she found herself envying it. Ready? Daniel emerged from the hallway. They said goodbye to Grace, who hugged Vanessa tight and whispered "you're good for him" into her ear once more. Outside, the evening air was cool. Daniel took Vanessa's hand as they walked. Thank you for today. For what? For being here. For being kind to her. For... He struggled to find words. For making this feel less lonely. You're not alone anymore. Vanessa squeezed his hand. Neither of us are. They took the bus back to Vanessa's neighborhood. Daniel had insisted on taking public transit instead of a taxi, and Vanessa found she didn't mind. They sat in the back, his arm around her shoulders, watching the city slide past. Can I ask you something? Daniel's voice was tentative. Always. Do you miss it? Your old life. Before me. Vanessa considered the question. Sometimes I miss the simplicity of it. Not having to think about anyone else, not having to consider how my choices affect someone I love. She looked up at him. But I don't miss the loneliness. And I don't miss performing every second of every day. You still perform sometimes. Less than I used to. She smiled. You make me want to be real. You are real. With you, yes. With the rest of the world. She gestured vaguely. I'm still figuring out how to be both. The person they want and the person I actually am. What if you could only be one? Then I'd choose being real. Without hesitation. Daniel kissed the top of her head. Good answer. Back at her apartment, they ordered pizza and watched a movie, sprawled on her couch in comfortable silence. Vanessa kept stealing glances at him, at the way he absently played with her fingers during quiet scenes, at how he laughed at the funny parts without self-consciousness. She was falling in love with him. Had maybe already fallen. The thought terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. Daniel. She paused the movie. Yeah? I need to tell you something. He sat up slightly, concerned. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Vanessa turned to face him fully. I'm happy. Really happy. And I haven't been able to say that truthfully in years. His expression softened. I'm happy too. Are you scared? Terrified. He admitted. Every day I wake up and think this is it. This is when she realizes she can do better. But then you smile at me, or you laugh at something stupid I said, or you hold my hand, and I think maybe, just maybe, I get to keep this. You do get to keep this. Vanessa's voice was fierce. You get to keep me. For as long as you want me. That might be forever. Good. She kissed him softly. Forever works for me. They made love that night for the first time, slow and tender and slightly awkward in the way first times always are. But it was real. No performance, no pretense. Just two people learning each other's bodies, each other's rhythms, each other's vulnerabilities. Afterward, they lay tangled together, Vanessa's head on Daniel's chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her shoulder. I love you. Daniel said it quietly, like a confession. I know it's fast and I know it's complicated, but I love you. Vanessa's heart felt too big for her chest. I love you too. They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other and in the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, they could make this work. The next morning, Vanessa woke to find Daniel already up, making breakfast in her kitchen. She watched him from the doorway, this man who had somehow become essential to her existence, and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Morning. He noticed her watching. Morning. She crossed to him, wrapping her arms around his waist from behind. What are you making? Pancakes. Thought we could have a lazy Sunday. They did exactly that. They ate breakfast in bed, read the news on their phones, talked about nothing important. Vanessa filmed a quick morning story, just her bare face and messy hair, nothing curated, and captioned it Perfect Lazy Sunday. She didn't show Daniel, respecting his desire for privacy, but the happiness in her voice was unmistakable. The comments rolled in. She's glowing. Whatever this new era is, I'm here for it. We love a happy Vanessa. But also, scattered throughout, still think she can do better. When's this phase gonna end? Waiting for the breakup video. Vanessa closed the app and tossed her phone aside. What was that face? Daniel had been watching her. Just comments. It's nothing. It's not nothing if it makes you look like that. Vanessa sighed. They're mostly positive. But there's always some people who want to tear down anything that makes you happy. Do they bother you? What they say about me? Sometimes. She was honest. Not because I believe them, but because I hate that you have to read that stuff. That they feel entitled to judge you when they don't know you at all. Daniel pulled her closer. I don't care what strangers think. I only care what you think. I think you're amazing. Vanessa kissed him. I think I'm the luckiest person alive. Pretty sure that's me. They spent the rest of the day in peaceful domesticity, watching movies, cooking together, existing in each other's space without needing constant conversation. It was the kind of intimacy Vanessa had never experienced before, this comfortable silence that didn't feel empty. As evening approached, Daniel's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression shifted. It's the hospital. He answered quickly. Hello? Yes, this is he. What? When? I'll be right there. He hung up, already moving. Mom's having trouble breathing. They want me to come in. I'm coming with you. Vanessa, you don't have to. I'm coming with you. Her tone left no room for argument. They rushed to the hospital, Vanessa driving while Daniel sat rigid in the passenger seat, his jaw clenched. She wanted to say something comforting, but what comfort could there be? His mother was dying. They both knew it. This was just the beginning of the slow goodbye. At the hospital, they found Grace in an oxygen mask, her breathing labored but stable. She smiled weakly when she saw them. Sorry for the drama. Don't apologize. Daniel took her hand. What happened? Just my body being difficult. She tried to laugh, but it came out as a wheeze. I'm fine. They're keeping me overnight for observation. I'll stay with you. No. Grace squeezed his hand. Go home. Both of you. I've got nurses fussing over me every 5 minutes. I'll be fine. Mom. Daniel. Her voice was firm despite the oxygen mask. Go home with your girl. Let me rest. Come back in the morning. Daniel looked torn, but Grace was insistent. Finally, he relented. In the car, he was silent. Vanessa drove them back to her apartment, parked, and waited. I can't lose her. Daniel's voice broke. I'm not ready. No one's ever ready. She's all I have. Vanessa reached over and took his hand. You have me too. He turned to look at her, tears streaming down his face. Promise me something. Anything. When she's gone, when I fall apart, don't leave. Even if I'm a mess, even if I push you away, don't leave. I promise. Vanessa was crying now too. I'm not going anywhere. They sat in the car for a long time, holding each other while the world moved on around them. And when they finally went upstairs, when they climbed into bed fully clothed and held each other through the night, it felt less like romance and more like survival. Two people clinging to each other in a storm, hoping they were strong enough to weather what was coming. The photo appeared on a gossip site 3 days later. Vanessa and Daniel leaving the hospital. The angle made it look intimate, clandestine, like they were sneaking around. The headline read, Vanessa Chen's secret hospital visits. Is she pregnant or is he sick? The speculation exploded. Within hours, it was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everyone had a theory. Some thought Vanessa was pregnant and hiding it. Others thought Daniel was seriously ill. A few suggested it was all a publicity stunt. But the worst ones, the ones that made Vanessa's stomach turn, were the comments speculating about Daniel's mother. Bet it's his mom. Probably using Vanessa for money. Gold digger alert. Rich girlfriend equals free healthcare. This is so calculated. He found a cash cow. Vanessa called Trish immediately. We need to shut this down. Now. Van, I don't think. I don't care what you think. These people are attacking him, attacking his mother, and it's disgusting. Trish sighed. If you respond, you'll just give it oxygen. Let it die naturally. How can I let it die when they're saying horrible things about someone I love? There was a pause. You love him? Yes. Vanessa said it fiercely. I love him. Okay. Trish's voice softened slightly. Then here's what we do. You post a statement. Something brief, something that shuts down the speculation without giving details. You don't owe these people an explanation, but you can set boundaries. Fine. Write something up. I will. But Van? Be prepared. This might get worse before it gets better. Trish was right. The statement went up an hour later. I'm asking everyone to please respect the privacy of the people I care about. Some things are not content. Some things are just life. Thank you for understanding. The response was immediate and divided. Supportive followers praised her for setting boundaries. Critics accused her of being defensive and secretive. And a vocal minority doubled down on their conspiracy theories. Daniel saw it all. He'd been checking Vanessa's social media obsessively since the hospital photo leaked, reading every comment, absorbing every judgment. When Vanessa came home from a brand meeting that afternoon, she found him sitting on her couch, phone in hand, expression hollow. Hey. She dropped her bag. You okay? He didn't look up. They think I'm using you. Daniel. They think my mom being sick is a scheme to get your money. He finally met her eyes. They think I'm some kind of opportunist who saw a rich girl and saw a payday. No one who matters thinks that. Everyone thinks that. He stood abruptly. Have you seen the comments? The think pieces? There are entire threads dissecting our relationship, trying to figure out my angle. Those people don't know you. But they know you. And they're judging you for being with me. He ran a hand through his hair. I'm ruining your reputation. I don't care about my reputation. You should. Daniel's voice rose. This is your career. Your livelihood. And I'm destroying it because I was selfish enough to think I could fit into your world. You do fit into my world. No, I don't. He gestured around the apartment. Look at this place. Look at your life. You have millions of followers and brand deals and opportunities one can't even imagine. And I'm a delivery guy who lives in a one-bedroom apartment with his dying mother. We're not the same, Vanessa. I never said we were the same. Vanessa's voice shook. But we're good together. That's what matters. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, all I'm doing is bringing you down. Stop it. It's true. Every time someone sees us together, they judge you for it. They wonder what's wrong with you that you'd settle for someone like me. There is nothing wrong with me and I'm not settling. Vanessa was crying now. I love you. Maybe that's the problem. Daniel's voice went cold. Maybe you love me because I'm different from your world, because I'm some kind of escape. But eventually, you're going to realize that escape isn't sustainable. And then what? Then nothing. Because I'm not looking for an escape. I'm looking for something real. How do you know what's real? His words came out cruel, desperate. You've spent 6 years performing. How do you know you're not performing now? The question hung in the air like poison. Vanessa stepped back as if he'd struck her. Is that what you think? That I'm faking this? I don't know. Daniel looked away. Maybe you're not faking it on purpose. Maybe you just don't know how to be real anymore. Get out. Vanessa. Get out. Her voice was steel. If that's what you think of me, if you think I'm that shallow, that incapable of real emotion, then get out. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. Fresh tears streamed down her face. You meant every word. And you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I don't know how to be real. But I was real with you. I let you see parts of me I've never shown anyone. And you're throwing it back in my face because you're scared. Of course I'm scared. He was shouting now. I'm terrified. Because every day I wait for you to wake up and realize you made a mistake. And now the whole world is telling you the same thing, and it's only a matter of time before you listen. So this is you leaving first? Getting out before I can hurt you? Maybe. Coward. The word came out quiet, devastating. Daniel flinched. Yeah. Maybe I am. He grabbed his jacket and walked toward the door. Vanessa didn't try to stop him. She stood frozen in her living room, tears streaming down her face, watching the man she loved walk away. At the door, he paused. I'm sorry. His voice was barely audible. So am I. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Vanessa stood there for a long moment, then collapsed onto her couch and sobbed. Her phone buzzed incessantly, notifications, messages, calls. She ignored all of it. The world wanted her reaction, her statement, her next move. But there was nothing to say. She'd opened her heart to someone and it had shattered. Just like it always did. Across the city, Daniel made it 3 blocks before he had to stop. He leaned against a building, his chest heaving, and let himself cry. He'd done it. He'd pushed her away before she could leave. He'd protected himself. So why did it feel like he just made the biggest mistake of his life? His phone rang. His mother. Where are you? Grace's voice was sharp. I saw the statement. What happened? I ended it. You what? I ended it, Mom. It wasn't working. It was too complicated. She's better off without me. Daniel Okafor. Grace's voice could still command authority even through oxygen. Don't you dare use me as an excuse to sabotage your happiness. I'm not. Yes, you are. You're scared, so you're running. Just like your father. The comparison hit like a physical blow. I'm nothing like him. Then prove it. Go back. Fix this. Don't throw away the best thing that's ever happened to you because you're afraid. It's too late. It's never too late. Not unless you decide it is. She hung up. Daniel stared at his phone, his mother's words echoing in his head. But he couldn't go back. The things he'd said, the way he'd looked at Vanessa with accusation and doubt, there was no coming back from that. He'd broken something precious. And he didn't know how to put it back together. In her apartment, Vanessa finally picked up her phone. She opened Instagram, stared at the blank post screen, and started typing. Then she deleted it. Posted again. Deleted again. Finally, she threw her phone across the room and screamed into a pillow. For 6 years, she'd shared everything with the world. Every thought, every feeling, every moment. But this heartbreak, this loss, this devastating proof that love wasn't enough, this was hers alone. She turned off her phone and let herself break in private. Two people who loved each other, separated by fear and pride and the impossible weight of the watching world. It was supposed to get better. It was supposed to be the happy ending. But some things shatter before they heal. And sometimes, the breaking is necessary before the mending can begin. 2 weeks later. Vanessa hadn't opened her phone camera in days. Her followers had noticed the silence. Hashtags blooming like weeds. Hashtag where is Vanessa? Hashtag Vanessa breakup. Hashtag Vanessa gone quiet. But for once, she didn't care. She'd stopped performing. Stopped chasing the illusion that her worth depended on visibility. The curtains in her apartment stayed open now. The ring light, unplugged, gathered dust in a corner. Instead of scripted mornings, she started real ones. Messy hair, dark coffee, unfiltered thoughts scrawled in a notebook. She missed him. God, she missed him. Daniel's quiet voice, the way his eyes softened when he looked at her, the feeling of safety that came from simply existing beside him. But she told herself missing wasn't the same as needing. She had to learn to stand on her own again. On the 15th day, she opened her phone, not to post, but to call the hospital. Grace's health updates had stopped coming through Daniel, and worry gnawed at her. The nurse on duty hesitated. "You're not family." Vanessa's heart dropped. "Please. I just need to know if she's all right." A pause. "She was discharged last week," the nurse said gently. "Her son's been taking care of her at home." Vanessa exhaled shakily. Relief, threaded with longing. Across the city, Daniel was helping Grace to her chair by the window. She looked frilier now, skin thinner, breath shorter, but her spirit was still sharp as ever. "You've been brooding again," she said, eyeing him. "I'm thinking." "That's code for punishing yourself." Daniel smiled faintly. "You know me too well." Grace reached for his hand. "I know when my son is in love with a woman and too stubborn to fix it." He didn't respond. "Daniel," she said softly, "what are you so afraid of?" "Losing her." "Then you already have. The question is, are you going to let fear be the last thing she remembers about you?" He looked out the window. "Do you want to know what I regret?" Grace asked. He turned to her. "Not the sickness. Not the struggle. What I regret is all the time I wasted pretending I didn't need anyone. You spend enough years building walls, and when love finally knocks, you don't have the strength to open the door." Daniel swallowed hard. "You sound like you've rehearsed that." "I have," Grace said with a small smile. "Every day since your father left." Silence stretched between them, broken only by the hum of city life outside. Then Grace added, "You should go to her." "I can't leave you alone." "I'll be fine." "Mom, go before I guilt trip you into it." Her tone was firm, the kind that had ended arguments since he was 12. Daniel sighed, kissed her forehead and said quietly, "I'll be back before dinner." "Take your time," she murmured. "You're long overdue for a little living." Vanessa was standing in line at a small bookstore when she saw it, the kind of headline she used to dread. "Vanessa Chen's offline era. Has the influencer finally quit the internet?" For the first time, she smiled. The article speculated endlessly about her mysterious absence, but they missed the truth completely. She hadn't quit. She'd just begun living. She bought a journal instead of a skincare product that day. On the first page, she wrote, "To be seen and still loved, that's the kind of fame I want now." When she got home, she found a note slid under her door. No envelope, no name. Just handwriting she recognized instantly. "I'm sorry for the things I said. I was scared and I hurt you. If you'll let me, I'd like to show up for real this time. D." Her heart pounded. She grabbed her coat and left before she could overthink it. The rain had started again, soft, persistent. Daniel was sitting on a bench outside the cafe where they'd first shared a meal. He looked up as she approached, uncertain if she'd come. Their eyes met, and for a moment neither moved. Then Vanessa crossed the distance and sat beside him. "You look terrible," she said quietly. He huffed a laugh. "You always know how to make an entrance." "Do I?" "You came." "I read your note." Daniel nodded, eyes on his hands. "I meant every word. I was cruel, and I'm sorry." "I know. I didn't mean what I said about you not knowing what's real. You're the most real thing that's ever happened to me." Vanessa's throat tightened. "Then why did you say it?" "Because I didn't think I deserved someone like you." "You still don't," she said softly, and when he looked at her in alarm she added, "Neither of us do. That's the point. Love isn't something you earn, it's something you accept." He looked at her for a long moment. "How's your mom?" she asked finally. "Weak. But still fighting." "I'd like to see her." "She'd like that." They sat in silence again, rain dripping off the cafe awning, city lights reflected in puddles. "Do you think we can start over?" Daniel asked at last. Vanessa turned toward him. No, his heart sank, until she continued, "We don't need to start over. We just keep going, but better this time." He smiled, small but real. "I'd like that." "Me too." They didn't kiss. Not yet. It wasn't a movie ending, it was the quiet middle, the part where two people decide that forgiveness can be louder than fear. 3 months later. Grace's apartment smelled of jasmine tea and hospital antiseptic. The oxygen machine hummed softly beside her bed. Vanessa sat on one side, Daniel on the other, their hands intertwined over the blanket. Grace looked between them with tired but joyful eyes. "I told you he'd come back," she whispered. Vanessa laughed through tears. "You did." "Good. I like being right." Her breathing grew shallower, but her smile didn't fade. "Daniel," she said. "Yeah, Mom." "Don't waste time being small. The world's already too quiet without you." She looked at Vanessa. "Take care of him." "I will," Vanessa promised. Grace's hand went still in theirs. The machine kept humming, but the room felt impossibly quiet. Daniel bowed his head, tears falling silently. Vanessa wrapped her arms around him, holding him as his body shook. They stayed that way for a long time, no cameras, no audience, just grief and love and the strange peace that comes with both. Weeks passed. Daniel took time off work. Vanessa canceled her sponsorships for a month. They stayed in Grace's apartment, sorting through old things, photos, letters, the telescope Daniel had once built out of toilet paper rolls. One night, Vanessa found a sealed envelope with her name on it. She hesitated, then opened it. "Dear Vanessa, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and my son is probably pretending he's fine. Don't let him. Make him talk, make him laugh, make him live. He's loved you since the moment you opened that door crying, though he'll never admit it first. Thank you for seeing him. For staying. For loving him enough to bring him back to life. Love, Grace." Vanessa pressed the letter to her chest and cried silently. That night, she told Daniel about it. He listened, tears streaming again, then said, "She always knew more than I did." "She still does," Vanessa said softly. "She'd be proud of you." He looked at her, then really looked. "Of us." She nodded. "Of us." A year later. The video began without music. Just morning light, unfiltered and real. Vanessa sat cross-legged on her couch, no makeup, hair messy. The caption read, "I disappeared for a while. Here's why." She talked about performance and loneliness, about how easy it was to mistake visibility for love. She spoke of loss, without names, without drama, and of finding someone who taught her how to be human again. She ended with a line that made her followers pause their scrolling. "Sometimes the truest love isn't the one that makes you famous, it's the one that makes you quiet." The video went viral for a different reason. Not because it was polished or dramatic, but because it was raw, real, healing. She turned off the comments after an hour. She didn't need validation this time. Behind the camera, Daniel wrapped his arms around her. "You sure you're okay sharing that?" "Yes," she said. "Because it's the truth. And I'm finally ready for people to see the truth." He kissed her temple. "You're brave. So are you." They looked out the window, the city alive beneath them, ordinary and infinite. For once, neither felt invisible. Months later, Vanessa hosted a small event, not for brands or fans, but for creators who'd burned out chasing perfection. Daniel helped set up chairs, quiet and content. When someone asked who he was, Vanessa smiled and said simply, "He's the reason I remember who I am." Later, as they walked home through the soft evening air, Daniel stopped and looked up. The stars were faint against the city glow, but they were there, steady, patient, waiting. "Mom used to say dreams don't expire," he said. She was right. "Maybe I'll build a real telescope this time." "I'll help," Vanessa said. "But I get to name it." "Deal." They stood there, hand in hand, two people who had once been strangers separated by screens and silence, now bound by something far deeper. The city moved around them, cars, lights, stories being written in every direction. But in that small, quiet moment, they were enough.